You are listening to A Path to New You, a podcast about mental health and veterans issues. In today's episode, I have a few things I want to talk about. One of them, I'm going to talk about a few things in which your therapist might not tell you. I know it sounds really interesting because there are some things that we as therapists think about, but we don't tell you. So that should be really interesting. So there's about 8 or 9 things about that. And then I also want to talk about another interesting topic. I'll talk about what I wish my clients knew. So I got a few things I want to talk about that. I just wrote some stuff down and I'm kind of going from the heart here. But I written it down and have a few things that I'm going to add while I talk as well. There's things I've written down and a few things I'm just going to add. So I hope you learn a few things. And if you've ever thought about going to therapy, if you haven't before, maybe this might help a little bit. I also want to let you know in one of my very first episodes, I did talk about the first steps of going to see therapy, what to expect in therapy, and all that. But that was a while ago. Um, that was a while ago, and I might do another episode later about that. Maybe update a little bit. Anyway, what are some of the things that your therapist might not tell you? Some of these things I haven't told my clients either, but there's a reason why I might not tell you. Again, therapists like myself, we respect clients' courage and taking the time to work on themselves. There are definitely things that we recognize as therapists, recognize that there are things our clients might not tell us. Again, it has to do with building rapport as one. And it takes a while to do that. I definitely tell my clients that during the first session, during intake, I tell them, this is a commitment. It's going to take a while. It's not like you're going to do one session and then you're going to be all taken care of. You be done. Yeah. It's a commitment. So the first thing I thought about when I was thinking about this stuff, as a therapist, I'm glad that you made it to your session. The fact that you have chosen to do what you're doing and came to this session means a lot. I am so happy that you're here. As a therapist, I'm glad that you have decided to set out on this journey because, yes, going to therapy can be a journey. It's going to take a while and often look forward to seeing you in your sessions. Some of the therapists, some of the clients as well, you're probably looking forward to going to session because you have a lot to say, you have a lot to talk about. Again, I want to mention as a therapist, I know there are some things that you will not tell us, and that's fine. Again, it's all about building rapport. Maybe eventually they'll tell us, but we know that at the very beginning, you're not going to tell us everything what's going on, and that's fine. It's about building rapport, and then once you build rapport, you might start opening up a little bit more. Again, as a therapist, we have no right to anything you are not ready to disclose. So anything that you're not disclosing, that's fine because it's not. We have no right to anything that you don't want to share. So if there's something that you don't want to share right away, that's fine. We don't have the right to know about that until maybe later down the road, a few sessions after. As a therapist, we recognize that there are likely traumas you have not revealed to us, and we hope that at time moving forward that your comfort will rise. You'll start building rapport with us and you'll trust us as a therapist more, and then maybe eventually you'll tell us about it. Also, we hope you come to your session. That's one of the things too that's like I'm hoping. a client comes to our session. I'm hoping because I'm looking forward to seeing him or her. Looking forward to seeing you in the session. Looking forward to see how things are going. So we just hope in our minds, we hope that you come to our session. I take my work seriously as a therapist. Most therapists do. I'm not saying all because there might be a few out there who don't, and those are the ones who shouldn't be a therapist. But most of us do take our work seriously. We care about your healing. We care about your process. We care about you, and we hope that you attend all your sessions. And again, if you can't make it to a session, please let us know. I do tell this to my clients at the very first intake, at the very first session during intake. If you can't make it, please let us know ahead of time. If you're really sick, please call, let us know, let me know. But if you just don't show up, that again, I'm going to talk about this later. If you do not show up, that's a session which someone who needs therapy could be at, if that makes any sense. Because there's several people out there who need therapy, who want to go to therapy, but like right now, a lot of the private practices and a lot of the nonprofit, um, they're all booked and they have a wait list. Now, if you don't show up to a session, that session could be used for somebody else. Hope that makes sense. So again, I hope you come to your session as a therapist. I hope you come to your session because I'm looking forward to talking to you and seeing how things are going. We also, as a therapist, we appreciate your feedback. Now, I'd say about 75, 80% of the time at the end of my sessions, I ask, hey, how did this session go? Do you feel like you learned something, or what can I do to improve this session? Because, first of all, you're paying me or you're paying the therapist for the session. So, technically, it's your session, so you can talk about whatever you want. Our goal is to make sure you are we want you to you we my mind just went blank. So we appreciate your feedback. We want to know how you're doing, how the session went. If there's anything we can do to improve the session, please let us know. It's not like you're grading us or anything. We just the more we know about how you feel about the session and what we can work on, the better the next sessions will be, and the more you'll get out of it, if that makes any sense. Another thing I want to talk about. This is like number six. I wrote down a few other things. There's a good chance that your therapist is actually also in therapy. When I was getting my master's degree in counseling, one of the things our instructors kept telling us, like, hey, you're a therapist, you might want to go to therapy too, because you need to work on yourself as well. If you can't work on yourself, how are you going to help other people? Now, I personally have been to therapy. I am currently not in therapy, but if there's something that going on and I need to work on myself more, I can go see a therapist in a heartbeat. And I've done it. I've been in therapy and when I go to therapy, I usually stick around to see the therapist for some time. So whenever I need it, I go see somebody or I talk to someone. Or I got friends who are therapists and I just talk about stuff that's going on and they help me too. I do have a few therapists out there who I've talked to, who I keep in contact with. A lot of them I have not, or they don't contact me back. So just let you know, you're coming to see us as a us, but we also go see another therapist as well. We do not talk about you in our therapy sessions that we are with a therapist. Just to let you know, we do not talk about you. Now, there's times where we do talk about you, but that's for a supervision and everything's confidential anyway, unless you say you're going to hurt someone or hurt somebody else or do something to somebody else or whatever. We do have supervision once in a while. Those who are not fully licensed see a therapist or see a supervisor, and that person is trained, has been licensed for at least 5 years, fully licensed for at least 5 years, and they talk about their clients. But they usually tell you ahead of time at the first session, the therapist, if they're seeing someone for supervision, they will let you know, hey, by the way, I'm seeing someone about once or twice a month to talk about you and my other clients and to let you know everything's confidential. They're not going to spread the word out in the community that you're seeing that they're seeing you as a therapist. So another one I want to say, your healing or your healing is worth a lot more than what you're paying. So what does that mean? Well, you're paying me or the therapist for the session. Your healing is worth more than what you're paying us. So a lot of us don't worry about the money, but we do this for a living. But a lot of us don't worry about the money, but we do it for a living. So this is what we do. We got bills to pay. So of course we're gonna get paid, but your healing is worth more than that to us. Sometimes I've had clients drop out because they can't afford it. And it'd be nice to know ahead of time. Say, hey, I can't do this anymore. I can't afford it. I lost my job or something. And if you tell me, I'll definitely work with you. I'm like, hey, what can you afford? Whatever you can afford, just give to me during the session or before the session or whatever, and we'll work from there. Because I want to continue seeing you. That way we can work on our goals and our treatment plan. Most of us therapists have a sliding scale as well. So I'm private pay right now. I charge anywhere from 100 to 120 a session. But I do have discounts for students, military, veterans. I do have discounts for that. I also have a sliding scale where we base it off your income and we work from there. You'll definitely, it's at the very beginning of our intake our first session. That's where we talk about the pay and all that. Another one to talk about, we have a treatment plan that evolves as your therapy progresses. So, what is a treatment plan? A treatment plan is something you and I would work on, creating goals and how can we accomplish these goals and how long, okay, it's going to take this period of time to accomplish this goal. So, we do that probably about, I said the first session is usually when we work on our treatment plan because we ask you, hey, what's going on? Why are you coming here? What do we need to talk about? What are your goals for the session? How can you accomplish these goals? And then every few months, I do every about 3 months. I we continue looking at the treatment plan, see how it is. We might add a few things. We might subtract a few things. Saying, hey, I've already accomplished these goals, so we don't have to do it anymore. So we like update the treatment plan I do it about every 3 to 6 months, depending how often I see you. I see some clients every week. I see some clients every other week. I see a client like once a month too. So it all depends how often we see you. That's how often we update the treatment plan. So it's like every 6 sessions about every 6 sessions, we go over the treatment plan. Another thing is, some of you may say, you know what, this is, as a therapist, once we're done seeing you, we are done for that session. That is not true because we have progress notes to do, and we kind of look in to see what's going on. We kind of do some research and all this. So yeah, once we're done seeing you, we do have other things we have to do, like progress notes and all that stuff. I got into that. I think I talked about that one of my first episodes of the podcast. I kind of went into that a little bit. So if you want to go back to the very first one, I think the first or second episode of my podcast, that's where I talk about the stuff more into detail. That's why a lot of our a lot of therapists out there, the most, especially in private practice, we see maybe at the most 25 clients a week, at the most. I'm trying to get my clientele up to about 25. Right now, I see four, 4 or 5. But again, I'm private pay, so people are just. Anyway, I'll go into detail on that later on, way later on. But yeah, I'm trying to. The most I'll see is about 25 a week. So that's about 25 hours of seeing people, and then there's progress notes, the note taking after seeing you. There's the stuff I need to do afterwards. So it comes out to about 40 hours a week total after the 25 of seeing face to face. You can always, another thing I want to let you guys know, as a client, you're always, you can always ask questions. If there's a question you have about anything about the session, please ask it. As a therapist, as myself, I would love for you to ask me questions. Now, it's got to be questions about therapy, questions about what we're doing in therapy, not like personal questions, because there's boundaries we got to set. But yeah, always ask questions. If there's questions you have about treatment or anything, please ask. If you don't ask it, we think you know what we're doing. We think you know what's going on. If you don't ask questions, please ask questions. Also, if there's questions we cannot answer, if it's about boundaries, there's a reason why we can't answer because it's a boundary of some sort. But if it's a question that we don't know the answer to right away, I'll definitely look into it and find someone who knows the answer. Now, when I do ask that question, find that answer that question, I would not say my client's name or anything. I'll just bring it up to like another therapist or something. Say, hey, the blah 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 or whatever, and maybe that person know the answer to it. But yeah, like I said, everything that shares in the session is confidential unless you're saying you're gonna hurt yourself or somebody else. So yeah, I hope you learned something from that one. Now the second part of this episode, I want to talk about what I wish my clients knew about me, about the therapist. So one of the reasons why I went into therapy, went into this field, is I really care about people. I truly care about my clients, about people, about my clients. I really care, and I want to see them succeed. I care about them. So, as someone for private practice, the reason why a lot of us go into private practice, we want to treat our clients as a person and not a number. there are different organizations out there where their client is just a number because there's so many clients they gotta see per week or per day. So technically, it's like a number. That's not right. So one of the reasons why I go into private practice is because that person, I don't see the client as a person, not a number, and just let you know, hey, they're human beings. They're not numbers. I also care about your success. I talked about that earlier. The best thing to me is to hear from a client after a few sessions and just hear them talking about how well they have improved their situation, how they have improved their life, on how they have done the stuff that I asked them to do. So because I suggest things here and there, and how they use those suggestions out in the community in their life, and how that's helped them improve their situation. I love that. It makes me happy. I've been known to come a little teary-eyed when they talk about it. It's happened a couple times, and my clients know it because I have sympathy and empathy. I'm empathetic and sympathetic. I care. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this field is because I care about them. I care about people. No matter how strong our therapeutic relationship in the session our client is, it's still different than a friendship from. So what does that mean? Well, we as a therapist and a client, we have a what's called a therapeutic relationship. Eventually, you'll open up and trust builds, and it's totally different than like a friendship like friends. Like there's stuff I wouldn't be talking about in therapy with my client that I would talk about with my friends. So if that makes any sense, I hope that makes sense. So in sessions, I can be pretty direct to, can become direct to my clients. I'll call them out on their BS sometimes, and I'll mention that at one of the first sessions. I'll let them know that, hey, if I feel like you are BSing me, I'll let you know. A lot of the clients actually say, you know what, that's a good idea. Thank you. You need to do that. Call them out on their BS. But yeah, it's a therapeutic relationship. It's totally different than a friendship or like with a friend, family, and all that. My number one goal as a therapist is to help clients become successful in meeting their goals, which means we create a treatment plan, and I want to see you succeed. I want to see you achieve those goals in the treatment plan. You're on my caseload for a reason. You are seeing me for a reason, and there's a reason why I'm seeing you. If I felt like I could not help you, I would refer you to somebody else who I think who could help you. So I only bring in people who I know I can help. That way I can watch you succeed and I can help you instead of wasting both of our times when I know for a fact I cannot help you, but yet I'm still seeing you. That I can't do that. I have to I have to the clients I see are the ones I know I can help. A lot of them are struggling through the same stuff I used to struggle with. So yeah, hope a lot of this stuff is making sense to you. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I hope that's what I'm talking to you about. Hopefully, it's helping you. Like know what, hey, this is what they think. This is what therapists think, or they wish my clients knew. While I may not agree with everything you're saying, I still respect and support it. Again, this is your session. This is your session, and there's some things I may not agree with. But again, like I said, it's your session. I might bring it up, and it's like, why do you think that? And like ask follow up questions, and maybe that be a reason why you're thinking that. And eventually, it might come out after a couple open ended questions where, you know what? Okay, that makes sense. This is why. Even when things are tough, I will definitely continue to work hard to provide the best counseling services possible. Now, with my private practice, I've had a few situations where it was extremely tough. I was working with clients who were extremely tough, and I worked my butt off to help provide the best counseling service possible. Again, I only bring in clients or people I know I can help. Some of them may be struggling more than others, and it's okay. And I know it's tough, but I will provide the best counseling services possible. Therapy can be tough, can be hard work. It's not just you and I sitting down and you're talking to me during a session. It's more than that. It can be hard work. It can be very rewarding too. It can be stressful and very rewarding. I've worked in places where it was extremely tough, and every day it was tough. But that's where self care and all that stuff comes in. And I did talk about self care in another episode. I believe I did. I talked about it. So again, if you haven't listened to all my other episodes, it might be a good idea to go back and listen to those. So then you'll know exactly a little bit what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the stuff. And now there may be times where I may need to step away from a case, from a client, but it's not because I don't care about them. I did have a situation back in 2021 where my I had medical issues, and I was seeing a few clients at that time, and I had to refer them out to somebody else, and I that was tough. But I couldn't see that. I couldn't see them because because I was admitted to the hospital. I was in the hospital for about 3 months. I couldn't even walk. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. So at that time, I had to take care of myself at that time. So I had to refer the clients to somebody else. And when I did contact the clients, I did let them know, hey, I got this medical issue, something's going on. I'll call around and I'll let's see what's out there. And I'm like, you know what, you want or I told him, hey, if you want to look yourself, this is how you can go in to look for other therapists. And I helped them throughout. I helped them find somebody else. So yeah, I spent 3 months in the hospital, and then when I was discharged, I still had to continue doing um, inpatient or outpatient physical therapy, and had to continue working on myself for another like 3 or 4 months before I could actually start seeing clients again. That was tough. That was the hardest thing I had to do. Another last thing I want to talk about, I am continuing growing as a therapist. I learn stuff every single day as a therapist. Yes, I have my master's degree. Yes, I got all this education. I have all this experience and stuff, but I'm continuing to learn about therapy. One of the things I'm doing is I do a lot of research. I do what's continue education, where I get continuing education's needed for licensure and all that stuff. So I do that, and also those who are not licensed, we also they also do continue education to help them improve themselves as a therapist. So there's books we read, continue education. There's stuff like, hey, there's an extra continue education on like PTSD, trauma, and we want to go into some sort of specialty, like for example, like anger management. There might be a webinar on anger management training and all this stuff. So we're always learning new things as a therapist. It's kind of fun too. I know I was talking a lot today, and I hope some of you learned some stuff about us therapists, about what we think, or about what stuff that you might think about what therapy is. Again, if you ever have a question during sessions or anything like that, please ask. It's it's our job to make sure that you are growing and that you're improving. Again, you are listening to A Path to a New You, a podcast about mental health and veterans issues. You can find this podcast on most major platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, um, Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, and all the other ones too. And recently, about a couple weeks ago, YouTube. So you can look up A Path to New You on YouTube. That should come up. And it's all audio. There's no video. It's all audio. And it's free to listen to. Please like, subscribe, follow this podcast. And after each episode, if you could rate and review, let me know how I can work on my podcast to improve my podcast. So far, I think I've had one person rate it, and that was it. I know I've got over maybe close to 30 episodes, so I'm trying to improve it. So if you could rate and review it at the end of the episode, I'd highly appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. And until next time, be well.